All right, so you might have noticed that yesterday we posted an article, and we're going to start doing that more often on our Facebook feed, but we thought it was important to educate you and make sure that we're always updated with the newest information in the content marketing sphere. But we also wanted to outline it for you audibly and visually in case you did not want to read it.
Yeah, I definitely recommend reading it. It's a short read. It's really good, but I'm going to kind of recap it a little bit. So it was kind of about, how captivating the design is really important, but words is kind of what makes you relate with people. Words is kind of the most important thing between your brand and consumer. That's what forms a relationship. The design is what lures people in. It makes people be like, ooh, visually, like, I'm attracted to you, right? But words is how you sustain that relationship. That's how people form bonds. That's, how people really like spark emotion. And I think there was a really cool case study in that reading that you guys should definitely go watch the YouTube video on. But the takeaway from that is just like words can actually change how someone views you. It changes like can I resonate with you? Like how can someone decide to choose from your brand or the other brand? There's so many things to choose from now. There's so many brands to choose from. So why would I choose your brand over someone else's? It all boils down to, do I resonate more with your brand? And can I have a relationship with your brand? And I think that boils down to language.
I 100% agree. And I think that's interesting too, because there's something that Eric Thompson always says. It's like your language affects your beliefs and your beliefs affect your actions.
Absolutely.
Right, and I don't think like seeing something or seeing an event can be traumatic, but it's the way you view it and the way you rationalize through it. So it's the way you speak to yourself about that event that affects the way that you perceive the event.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense, for sure.
So the other thing I want to talk about, there's a couple other things I wanted to elaborate on that weren't in the article, but were inspired by it. The first one being, it talks about the importance of visuals, but how visuals can't take you all the way. And so I wanted to talk about how there's a misconception, and the biggest mistake that people make is assuming that because they're not a graphics designer, because they're not visually skilled, that they can't create an effective message or create effective content for social media. I don't think that's the case. I think it's great, I think it's great that we have access to graphics designers, but the truth is, if you think about YouTubers or influencers, most of those people got better over practice, but they did not start with any classical training or college or university type training.
Right.
They just knew how to make a good thumbnail. They knew how to put big text with some eye-catching visuals, and they made that work for their brand. And there's nothing wrong with that. The other thing is also talking about when you're thinking about building a brand and hiring maybe an agency to manage that brand for you, you gotta understand that it's a super personal and intimate process.
For sure.
And it can be very scary because the thing is that there's a lot of people dissatisfied with marketing agencies because they don't always get it right. And there's a huge transition process of someone else taking on that brand language and that brand presentation or representation. And that's kind of why here at Wake Up, we have a really extensive onboarding program. And sometimes it still doesn't even get it right. 30 days. It's about 30 days of just understanding how you speak, what you believe. And then the hardest part is even realizing sometimes, even if you own the business, you started the business, you have staff that run the business, that individual or one individual isn't the brand. You got to realize that even though Matt Smith might be the founder of Wake Up Pueblo, or Eric Thompson is the CEO, we can't let their voices dominate because what happens if there's a new CEO? What happens if there's you have to have a brand that's consistent over a long period of time, even with turnover, staff turnover.
Yeah.
So her voice can't be the brand, my voice can't either. And so when you're working with a business owner that maybe doesn't have a brand yet, and we're establishing it, it's a really hard transition, or it's an educational process to pull them away from maybe what their belief systems are and what is best for the brand to communicate with the audience that needs to buy their product.
For sure, yeah. And I think that's what's so important is companies within your brand, within your company, everyone needs to believe the language, right? It's I have a video going out next week, and I went around Wake Up asking everyone, what words do they associate with Wake Up? And the words that they gave me, it wasn't because you had Matt or Eric being like, hey, this is the language that you need to use. No, it's because we all believe it. We wholeheartedly believe that is Wake Up. That is the brand of Wake Up. That is the language we use because we believe it. And that is how we want to form bonds with people outside of Wake Up. That's how we form bonds within Wake Up. And so I think it's also really important not to just, set the have a little meeting and be like, these are the words, there you go. You need to sit down and ask your people, like, what do you think the brand is?
Well, it's so funny you say that, because actually that's exactly what we did at Wake Up about a month ago. Eric sat us all down and he said, because it came to a point where like we all kind of understood what we were providing, but content marketing is such a abstract type of business, right? Like the biggest conversation we always have is we're not providing you direct ROI. And you think if you're buying marketing, that's exactly what you want. So even internally, we had to sit down and we had to say, okay, like what is our language?
Yeah.
And what we did was like exactly what you were talking about. It wasn't Eric coming in and say, this is what we do. It was kind of a discovery meeting. We sat down and we're like, okay, what do you value? We all got a piece of paper that had about 150 different words. And then we circled the ones that were like, I like that. Then we got in groups, and then the groups saw what were their commonalities. And then we debated, okay, which ones do we want then? And then different groups got together, and then we saw if there was any commonalities between the groups. And that was a way to discover from the bottom up rather than the top down.
Absolutely.
What is it we believe? So we established what we believe. And then once getting those, we had to figure out, okay, how can we put that into brand language? But then once you do have to standardize that.
Yeah.
Even this morning we were talking about in our morning meeting of like, okay, revisiting something that we decided earlier in the month, so that we don't lose that brand language. And if we got in an elevator, 6 different people in a different elevator with 6 different business owners, we can all say the exact same thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's important.
Agreed. So, the other thing, I had to check my notes, is boring businesses. And I think it was important because at the very end of the article, it kind of talks about, it gave an example of carpet business. And they said that if you have a quote-unquote boring business, you can still use exciting language to get people excited about your business.
For sure.
And even internally, we were talking about like, what's the best clientele that we want here?
Yeah.
And I argued that it really, like, there's no industry, there's no specific business that is ideal. It actually has to do with the people that are willing to project their voice.
Yep.
Because there are super dynamic businesses that have a great visual story, that have a great product, but if the owner or the staff isn't willing to represent it in a dynamic way, your hands are kind of tied.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I agree.
Yeah, and there's even like, we'll get there. I'll hit you with another one. I was like, I could go on forever, but I'm gonna let you go soon, right? So I've got a question for you.
All right.
Do you think that one is more important? So language or visuals?
That's a good question, actually. So I don't want us to seem like we're kind of like dogging on the visuals, because visuals are really important. Like captivating design is also very important, but your design and your language have to work together. They are like a beautiful team that are just like always there for each other. One can't slack off. But I do have to say, and I don't know if I'm biased because I'm a language person, but I do think that words are how people form relationships. That is communication. That's how you and I got to know each other. That's how we're best friends. And that's what I'm saying. It's like words are how people stick around, I think. And like I said before, design can bring someone in, but I do think words are what makes people stay.
Yeah, and you gave a really good example earlier about, not in this video, but you were talking about a mission statement versus a logo.
Yeah. So I was thinking like, the most important thing, the way to get someone to pick your brand over another brand is to see if you resonate, right? Like, why am I going to pick your brand? It's because I resonate with your brand more than this brand. And it's like, if you look at a logo or you read a mission statement, which one are you going to resonate with more? Probably the mission statement. The logo can bring up emotion, of course. Like, there's a lot of psychology behind logos, and I think the design people are like crazy good at it, right? But if you're looking at a logo and then you look and you read a mission statement, you're going to resonate more with the words. It's going to bring up more emotion.
Yeah. So it's like, this is going to be really awful, but let's say you had a sick ass logo. Let's say it was a Nike swoosh, but then the mission statement says, like, we eat cats.
What?
You know what I mean? Like,
where did that come from?
The mission statement is totally going to affect your representation of the brand way
For
more.
sure.
So
For
that,
sure.
Whereas if you had a mission statement that says, like, we're battling inequalities and world hunger or whatever, like world peace, right? Whatever that is, right?
Yeah.
Super inspiring. And then you have a really awful logo. I don't think the logo is really going to impact your understanding of the brand as much.
I agree. I completely agree. And I think, especially today, people absolutely pick brands for what they believe in. if they can stand behind it.
That's another huge debate. Is and we won't even get super deep into it, but the thing is that more and more brands are realizing, or businesses like Pepsi, Coca-Cola, like all the major giants are recognizing that. Even Gillette is a really good example.
Yeah.
They all know that social responsibility is becoming a really big, even like people want to use their money wisely, and they want to affect the structure of their economy and their country based on their dollars.
Yeah.
So for you to leverage that and making sure that you're assuring your consumer that through words that you have a product that is gearing towards a larger vision is massive.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And you do that through words.
Through words. So
debate over.
Anyways, we'll be posting articles more and more often and providing you commentary. You and I will both learn together to make sure that we are updated and innovative as we like to do at Wake Up Bubbler. So
yeah, absolutely.
Enjoy.